I think it may help if the board is willing to find that $30,000 somewhere in their budget pending the continuation of the program. I think that would help in our bid to keep the program. So does the board wish to find that extra $30,000 or so?
Mr. Chairman, let me just point out one thing that I point out to my dentist all the time, that good teeth actually adds 10 years to your life.
I'm glad of that.
So I think in light of what that may do for the health of a lot of the kids, that I'd make the motion we look to find the revenue to actually keep the program afloat.
I would second that motion.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Taylor. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. So the motion carries unanimously. We are not there yet, but and the dentist is there. Would you stand up, please? So we want to say thank you for all the work you do. And your staff. Well, thank you to them, too. We'll give them a round of applause, too. Okay, and in spite of your origins, I can never resist a Red Sox joke. But, yeah, we're gonna try, and I'm going to ask Mr. Culley to forward the board's consideration of adding additional funding to keep the program. So we'll try to keep the program. If it's within our power to do so, we will do that. Okay? Thank you very much. And you're right about good teeth is a good thing. I saw where somebody died from an abscess recently, which is not a good thing. All right, public hearings. Mr. Duval. Okay. Our first public hearing is the proposed Virginia Department of Transportation secondary 6-year plan and secondary system construction budget for fiscal year 2014 through 2019. Mr. Duval is here from the Virginia Department of Transportation. All yours, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Gary Duvall, and I am the Fredericksburg Residency Administrator for Caroline County with the Virginia Department of Transportation. The Code of Virginia requires the County Board of Supervisors and the Department to formulate a 6-year secondary improvement plan and primary list for the secondary improvement budget. We have provided the proposed plan and budget for your consideration regarding this matter. The meeting on May the 15th and tonight's public hearing are being conducted for the 2014 through 2019 plan and the 2014 fiscal year. Please keep in mind this plan is only for improvements and new construction. It does not include maintenance work such as potholes, pulling ditches, snow removal, or repairing roads. In preparation of and updating the proposed 6-year plan, we met with the county administrator and staff to discuss the current plan and to seek guidance on any changes that may have been determined necessary by your county since the approval of the current plan for fiscal year 13. In this proposed 6-year plan, the following has been recommended. Under paved priorities, Route 639 Ladysmith Road, Route 751 Colemantown Road, under construction now, Route 741 Faulkner Lane, under construction now, Route 690 Old CC Road, under construction now, Route 760 Sorrel Lane, Route 622 Durrett Road, and Route 629 Minnie Archie Road. And I apologize if I mispronounced the last one. Under bridge priorities, we're funding Route 633, which is Bull Church Road over South River. Please note the funding amounts are found in the estimated allocations. For the past couple of years, the board may recall that telefees were the main funding source. The additional fund allocations shown in the future years are due to the recent approval of the transportation bill. Mr. Chairman, I recommend and propose a short work session for us to discuss any questions regarding the proposed plan and then open the public hearing to solicit and receive public comments regarding the proposed plan and budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duval. We will use this time right now as our brief work session. Okay. If you want to stay there, just in case there are any questions from board members, we'll just go through. Ms. Seeley, you jumped in first.
I have one question, and this goes to the recent weather conditions last night and the new 6-year plan. Is the bridge that's not in this plan on 721 Sparta Road at the fire station that was again underwater last night.
Yes, sir.
And I've talked to VDOT now for the last 6 years on how do we get that bridge into a plan to get it upgraded.
I will bring you a proposal and a discussion at our next discussion meeting, if that's okay with
And
you.
that's fine. I know that it may not fit in this 6-year plan, but
Sure.
I know that at some point in time, in the not too distant future, we're going to have an issue there, and it won't be news.
There are other funding sources that we'd like to bring to the table in addition to the secondary 6-year plan that we'd like to talk to you about. So yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Black?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Durrett Road. I see you say, it says they're resurfacing. I also see the budget amount, $104,000. That Durrett Road right now is currently a dirt road. When you talk about resurfacing, are we paving it, or what's?
It'll be brought up to rural rustic standards. And what that means, it'll be roughly a 16 to 18 foot wide surface treated road. We'll replace all the drainage facilities that need replacing, and we'll bring it up to that standard, and the state would be maintaining it as we do today.
Basically like a gravel road still?
It's no surface treatment. It'd be hard surface.
Oh, it would be hard surface.
Yes, sir. Tar and gravel.
Tar and gravel.
Gravel,
Yes, sir.
gravel is glued together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Underwood? No, sir. Mr. Akers?
Thank you. I do, Mr. Chairman. And we're talking about Durrett Road. We just recently received a letter from the commercial guy there on the corner,
Correct.
and he was complaining about the part that is paved and the condition of that road, of that section of it.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything we can do with that?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
you're going to take care
Yeah,
of
that's part of maintenance. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And this will just be the part that's dirt will be brought up to surface treatment. That's what we're
I was
talking
looking at Faulkner Road,
Okay.
and Faulkner Road is in the Madison district as well. It's in sort of the northwestern part of my district.
about. Yes, sir.
And that's roughly 84,000, and it's going to take 104,000 to resurface Durrett Road. Is there any way of possibly changing those two?
Well,
Switching
Faulkner is being built now.
those- Oh, youth under construction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're building it this summer. And Durrett is not scheduled until 2017.
Right, right.
So we try to work with, your priorities.
No, I understand.
And
I
so
appreciate it. I didn't
Right.
realize that that was under construction or getting ready
Yes,
to
sir.
get under construction.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. As long as we can take care of that small patch of
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
asphalt,
Yes,
and
sir.
it's only, I don't know, 50 feet or maybe 100 feet or something like that
Yes, sir.
of asphalt.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Taylor?
No, not at this
Mr. Duval, I just want to say thank you for all the responses you've done for the things we've asked for.
Yes, sir.
Has nothing to do with 6-year plan, but you
Right.
put the crossing signs up across from the food line
Yes, sir.
like I asked for.
Right.
I think that may save lives. So you've done a great job for us.
Thank you.
I don't ever hesitate to tell people how I think they're doing.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
think in this case you've done a great job.
Thank you.
We'll call this a conclusion to our work session. I think we understand where we are, and I'll go ahead and open the public hearing if there's anyone here who wants to speak about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll open the public hearing for the proposed VDOT Secondary Road 6-year plan. Is anyone who'd like to speak regarding this matter? Does anyone like to speak regarding the 6-year plan? Is there anyone who'd like to speak regarding the 6-year plan? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. We have concluded that business as required by the Commonwealth. How does the board wish to move forward with the adoption of the 6-year plan?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we adopt the 6-year plan as presented.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Underwood for the adoption of the 6-year plan as presented. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much again, Mr. Duval. We'll move to the next public hearing, which is rezoning 01-2013 for Long Ellis Ray Sr., owner applicant M1 to RP. Mr. Fincham.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, your next public hearing tonight is RZ01-2013. Ellis Ray Long Sr., owner and applicant, is requesting a rezoning of 1.44 acres of land at the corner of Zion Road and Route 1, south of Carmel Church. Current zoning is M1 industrial, which is non-conforming with the current plan, and they're requesting a rezoning back to rural preservation. The owner, there's currently an old auto repair facility on the site. The owner would like to possibly convert that back into a single-family dwelling for his residential purposes. Aside from a few industrial parcels on the east side of Route 1, the area is predominantly rural preservation. If the board approves this rezoning request, the owner would be required to submit a permit or a change of use permit for the structure and have the structure inspected by the building official for that conversion to residential use. Would also require verification to the health department that there is an adequate functioning septic system on the property. The health department did not have any records owing to the age of the structure. So as part of the change in use, that would have to be verified prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy by our department for that residential use. The Planning Commission has considered this request and did forward a recommendation to the board for approval of this request, and that was a unanimous recommendation by the Planning Commission. And with that, I'll address any questions that the board may have.
Questions for Mr. Fincham at this time? Thank you, Mr. Fincham. We will declare the public hearing to be open. Is the applicant here? Is the applicant here?
They were not present at the Planning Commission.
Okay. I was just asking. Okay. We will open the public hearing for RZ01-2013. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, we'll declare the public hearing to be closed. Excuse me. Volume doesn't make it any different. Does Mr. Underwood, Reedy Church District, questions, comments, motions?
No question, Mr. Chairman, only a motion. I'd make a motion that the board approve RZ01-2013.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Seeley. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Fincham, agenda item number 6. Special exception 08-2012.
Mr. Chairman, your next public hearing is SPX 08-2012, Crystal Springs LLC owner, Pine Hill Automotive applicant. They're requesting a special exception permit in accordance with Article 17, Section 13, and Section 3.17 of the Caroline County Zoning Ordinance on Tax Map 13A-A-9, which consists of approximately 1.9 acres. The property is located on Route 17 in the Port Royal voting district and is designated in the comprehensive plan as being in the Port Royal Community Service area with a planned commercial designation. The application is for a special exception permit for a tow service operation in a property that was formerly a auto repair and auto body establishment. The applicant is requesting the SE to allow the tow service operation in which the auto repair would continue, but also would have the tow storage lot, including the tow trucks used for the operation. Special exception requests will be subject to a number of conditions. Those will be standards that are contained in the ordinance, as well as the conditions recommended by the Planning Commission when they forwarded this application to the board. In your packet, you have 21 recommended conditions by the Planning Commission, which would include a review of the special exception permit by the board after 2 years of operation. The Planning Commission held a work session and a public hearing on this request. Several people spoke in favor of the request, and there was no opposition. The Planning Commission did forward this recommendation to the board, or this application to the board, with a recommendation of approval subject to the conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Fincham. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Fincham. Questions of Mr. Fincham at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I've
Mr.
just
Black?
got one. It says on there the 50 by 100-foot fence. It doesn't say whether they're going to put it. Is that a common thing? I mean, they say they're going to put a fence up, but it doesn't say where.
If I could answer that for you, Mr. Black, I've had the opportunity to go to the site, and we've talked about that. And I will address that after we open the public hearing and the applicant has had a chance to speak. I will address that at that time, and if you aren't satisfied, then certainly you can ask.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? The applicant is here? Okay. We will declare the public hearing for special exception 08-2012 to be open. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this matter? Please just state your name, voting district. That's it.
My name is Morgan Zwicker. I'm the owner of Pine Hill Towing and Automotive in Port Royal. I reside in King George, and I've been in Port Royal at that location for 4 years with the automotive repair shop. And my towing business right now is run out of King George. It's licensed and certified in King George. My request to the board is that I can open a towing operation in Caroline to run a tow operation out of that location. I had a couple of board members stop by today and look at my facility, and they came in unannounced, which was fine. I shared with them both that I have an open door policy. I have nothing to hide. There's nothing there that's that anybody can come by anytime and see. I run a very neat and particular operation. My facility is clean and neat. It doesn't look like a repair shop. Okay, and I strive to do that. My employees strive to do that. We have 7 employees that we employ at that location, and we have quite a few customers that are around in the Port Royal area since we moved there. We've become a very, I guess, liked in the community. And we've provided a business there that helps the people out. So in saying that, I talked today about my towing operation and my facility to the 2 that were there today, and I assured them, and I know a lot of tow companies have a reputation to be not the most cleansed, neatest facilities. At any given time on my facility, if this was approved, there wouldn't be any more than probably 10 cars at one time, and they only stay there for up to 10 days. And I'm talking about sheriff's department calls, state police calls where you get an accident. Right now, my facility in King George, those vehicles are brought in. The fluid is, if anything is leaking out of them, the fluid is drained in a container. It's disposed of properly, whether it's antifreeze, oil, or grease, rear end grease, or what have you. It's disposed of properly, and then the cars are put out in a lot, and then there's a absorbent pad putting underneath them to catch any fluids that are dropping out of them that may be still there. And that stuff is disposed of properly as well through the environmental service that I have at my facility there. And also, in saying that the facility that I have at Port Royal now, all my waste oil that I generate in my shop for oil changes is burned in my waste oil furnace, so it's used to heat with. The antifreeze is disposed of properly through an environmental service that comes by every 30 days and picks it up and disposes of it. My tires that I generate, old tires, are disposed of in your landfill, and of course I pay the county for that as well. So I just wanted to assure the board that my tow operation is not run like a salvage yard or like a junk yard. It's above board. I'd encourage anybody to come by at any time to walk in and walk around and look at it. It's there. I have nothing to hide. I'm transparent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If you want to take a seat when we're done, if we
Sure.
have any questions, we may call you back.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? If you would, please come forward, state your name, voting district, or county residence.
Good afternoon. My name is John Miller,
Ah.
and I am the owner of Crystal Springs LLC. And when Morgan and I got together 4 years ago for him to become my tenant, the thing that I stressed to him, I wanted a clean operation. I didn't want a junkyard. I own the 8.5 acres adjacent to this 1.9 acres, and I wanted a first-class facility. He has met or exceeded all of my expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this matter? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. Board members at this time have any questions of Mr. Fincham or the applicant? Mr. Black? Or Mr. Taylor, if you'd like to clear up the fence issue first.
Okay, well, let me just say, as I said before, I had an opportunity to go down and to look at the business, and as was stated, I was very impressed with it. It's a business already there where cars are being worked on, and your question about the fence was a concern that I had, or one of the concerns that I had. I was taken out back and shown pretty much where the fence will be. It's an 8x8 wood fence, wood to wood fence, and so this is where the towed vehicles will be stored. It's totally out of the view of the public. I guess unless you go inside the fence would be the only way that you would see them. The other concern that I had was the length of time, and if you look at the conditions, up to 10 days is as long as the vehicles could be towed there or stored there. One of the other concerns that I had was how you're going to distinguish the towed vehicles from the vehicles that are already there that are being worked on. And I was told basically that once the vehicles are brought there, they're put directly into the lot. And so, and basically the insurance companies usually react very quickly within 2 or 3 days to come and, remove the vehicles as they are quickly ready to clear up that insurance business as far as getting the vehicles to wherever they're going to end up. But basically, it's a clean operation. It's a well-run operation, and I thought it was good. And that's all that I have right now.
Mr. Black, questions?
None.
Mr. Seeley?
I see the condition 21's a 2-year review, and as long as that's in, I think, business in Port Royal is needed. I've actually been to the facility many times. I have several friends that have vehicles repaired there, and I've been there many times, and thought the operation was really nice, so no issues.
Underwood? No comment, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a comment. It has nothing to do with the special exception that's being requested. But the applicant, I'm just wondering, are your records that you now have, that are they licensed in Caroline County?
No, sir, they're not. They're in King George.
Would they be licensed in Caroline County if you had towing operation?
If that's what the board needed to have happen, I could do that. But I would ask that only I could do 2 of them and then keep the other ones licensed in King George, because I have an operation there as well.
I don't know that we can make that a condition.
Well,
I would like to see that happen because it gives us revenue off of your
I
business.
understand that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
We really can't ask you to do that, but it sure would be nice if you offered that.
Yes, sir. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, okay, because I understand what you're going after, and I understand that perfectly as a business owner myself and as a taxpayer. So I understand that.
Great. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to let you go last.
Sure, okay.
My original question was who was Mr. Miller, but Mr. Miller stood up as part of it because that was the thing. But Mr. Fincham, just so you can explain to all of us, the 2-year review versus 2-year renewal, review means what? They come back and it's administrative?
Yes, sir. Comes back to you for review for compliance with the conditions, whereas a renewal, you actually go through the special exception process yet again.
So with the review, as long as there's no complaints, substantial amount of complaints because nothing's perfect, then it's pretty much an administrative process and it goes through again. Okay, that's all I wanted to make sure. Mr. Taylor, Port Royal District.
Yes, I would move approval of special exception 08-2012, Crystal Springs LLC owner, Pine Hill Automotive applicant. The special request be approved as presented.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Taylor, seconded by Mr. Underwood. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously. Mr. Fincham, text amendment 09-2013, zoning ordinance of Caroline, amending business uses permitted by special exception.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the next proposed public hearing is TXT 09-2013, which is a relatively simple text amendment. Currently, in the B1 zoning district, Section 3.6, which is the special exception sections of B1, allows processing, light warehousing, wholesaling, and other distribution establishments. Based upon discussions with the Economic Development Office and some potential prospects for some of these vacant properties in the county, we evaluated that section and determined that it might be appropriate to allow some assembly type uses under that category as well. Recognizing that this was subject to special exception approval by the Board of Supervisors, so you ultimately have the authority to evaluate the intensity of the use, things like that, to make sure that it's consistent with the B1 area that a request is made. And with that, we felt it was appropriate to make a recommendation to the Commission and ultimately the Board to allow assembly subject to the special exception process where we already allowed processing types of operations as well. And with that, I'll address any questions that the Board may have.
Thank you, Mr. Fincham. We're basically just adding the word assembly to the special exception test. So any questions of Mr. Fincham? Thank you, Mr. Fincham. We will open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding text amendment 09-2013? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding text amendment 09-2013? Is there anyone who would like to speak? Hearing none, the public hearing is declared closed. Any other questions of Mr. Fincham? Motion would be in order.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept, let me get to the right page, text amendment 09-2013, proposed amendment to B1 business for the purpose of assembly.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Seeley, seconded by Mr. Black. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. We did agenda item, thank you, Mr. Fincham. We did agenda item number 8. We're now up to agenda item number 9, the adoption of the resolution of the Board of Supervisors, Caroline County, to request the Circuit Court to order a special election on the question of issuing general obligation bonds in the maximum principal amount of $25 million for school purposes. Now, is that you, Mr. Emerson?
Yes, sir. I think it might be.
Okay.
This is this action that's being requested is for the board to adopt a resolution that would request the circuit court to order a referendum, a bond referendum at the election in November. It's essentially a special election in the terminology of bond referendums, but it would be held at the same time as the general election. The purpose of the referendum is to ask the citizens of the county if they would like the county to borrow up to $25 million, basically for school improvement purposes. And this has been done at the request of the school board, which adopted a resolution back in February making that request. The proceeds would be, of the bonds, would be spent to do renovations and improvements and an expansion to the Caroline High School, and security improvements and an expansion to Madison Elementary School. The specific question that we would be asking that the resolution would request the court to approve in its order reads as follows: shall Caroline County, Virginia contract a debt and issue its general obligation bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $25 million pursuant to the Public Finance Act of 1991 as amended, for the purpose of financing the costs of 1, the renovation, improvement, equipping, furnishing, and expansion of Caroline High School, and 2, security improvements and the equipping, furnishing, and expansion of Madison Elementary School that will serve the residents and students of Caroline County. And then the citizens can vote either yes or no. And as you all know, I believe, a general obligation bond is, except for certain limited exceptions, requires a referendum and the consent of the voters in counties, different towns and cities, but it's required in counties, because a general obligation or GO bond is secured by the full faith and credit of the locality, and you are required by law to pay those bonds and to increase the taxes, real estate taxes, as needed in order to pay that bond, should you not have money from any other source to do it. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Emerson? Okay. The information I passed out was for item 11, not this one. But Mr. Emerson, in our summary, in the board packet, our summary, I take it was done by county staff, but it says $21 million for the high school, $4 million for Madison, and I thought the school said $20 million and $5 million. We don't need to worry about that now, but we need to worry about that before, later, because it still comes up to $25 million, right?
Yes, sir. The question on the referendum will simply say $25 million. It won't split it between the two. It was just my understanding from staff, and I believe staff's understanding, that the split was what's in your information, but I don't have any other information about that.
I thought it was 20 and 5. Does anybody remember?
I thought it was 25 too. But...
You thought it was 22 and 3?
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Mr. Seeley, do you recall the meeting, was it 20 and 5 or review? I mean, it doesn't make a difference because we know the number. Well, it does make a difference.
Well,
we know the number added up to 25, which is going to be what we approve now. I just don't like walking in the dark a whole lot.
Well, I think it's important for you to understand, or have an understanding perhaps with the school board, as to approximately how much they think is needed for each project.
Right.
But you do need to understand that if the referendum passes and the bonds are sold, the Board of Supervisors has no control over those funds. And they can actually spend them as long as they're spent for the purposes of the referendum in any way that they want.
Well, I just had some really bad thoughts go through my head.
Legally.
So, but based on that, they could spend $20 million to renovate Madison and $4 million on the high school.
Yes, sir.
The language in the referendum has no bearing on the expenditures since they lay it out as 21 and 4.
That's not the language in the referendum.
Referendum will last.
But we can
25 million.
see. Right now we need to pass this resolution so that the judge approves it, so we have time to get it on the ballot in November. And this is really basically the last shot we have, because we only have one meeting in June.
Yes, sir.
The referendum includes the ballot question?
The resolution that
I mean, the
you adopt
resolution-
tonight
I'm sorry.
has to include the ballot, the question on the ballot.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Please.
My point is the fact that we've been asked for $25 million, a bond referendum for $25 million. And in the work session, we agreed to that $25 million. You know, I wasn't elected to tell the schools how to spend their money. Now, certainly I was elected in trying to provide, as each of us were, trying to provide the best services we can for the county citizens. But I don't know that I have any more insight into what the schools need than what the school board has. And they've come to us, I believe, in good faith, and they've said to us in good faith, we need $21 million or $22 million or whatever for the high school. I mean, I don't think there's a question. I don't think there's a question about the high school. They're going to put money into the high school, whether it's going to be $20 million, $21 million, or $22 million. That money's going to go to the high school. No question in my mind about that. So I don't know why we would get hung up on whether it's spent $20 million on the high school or $21 million, or whether $20 million goes to Madison. I don't know where they can spend $21 million at Madison, to be honest with you, because they can't go out any further.
They could go higher.
They can't go high. No, that school wasn't built to go higher. Mr. Whiteman, I think, would probably tell you that. So they can't go up. So what are they going to spend $20 million for at Madison?
I know that the high school is, I mean, $20 million is what, 21's what that building's going to take.
Absolutely. That's
And
all they want to do with
I
it.
know that of all the buildings that we have in the county, school-wise, that high school is in dire need of the work.
And they're going to sell this. They're going to sell this bond referendum, no question in my mind, to the public. They're going to have to. They're going to have to sell it to the public. And if they go and sell it at $21 million for the high school and $4 million for Madison, and do the exact opposite, they're the ones going to pay the consequences come November of 2014, 2015, or whatever it is that is the next election. They're the ones going to pay the consequences because they would have lied to the general public.
Well, I mean, you make a good point. My point was, and again, on that same note, Mr. Akers,
Right.
I think during our work session,
Right.
we all said we would support the $25 million.
Absolutely.
And my words were exactly, I will enthusiastically support $25 million. I just had a question because I left that meeting thinking it was 20 and 5. And I just asked Mr. Taylor, and he said he thought it was 20 and 5 also. I'm just saw different numbers. I just wanted a little clarification on different numbers. Mr. Emerson has told us that once we give them the gross number, it really doesn't make a difference. So I think we all agree that we wanted to support schools. We wanted to make it happen. I just had a question on why the numbers were different because I like consistency. But as it is, we're going to just say 25 million and that's it. If you have another question.
The cost, I know when we go out and borrow money from the open market.
Cost of issue.
Yeah, right, the cost of it. Cost of
Mr.
issue,
Rogers is
plus
here 'cause
all those other things. But there's been no money included in this bond referendum to cover that cost. And how much is that cost, and how do we fund
We're
that?
going to pay more than
Well,
that.
it can't be more than 25 million total,
That's
so
what
that
I'm
has
saying.
to include the cost of issuance. And you might want to talk to Mr. Rogers
that's-
about
that's
what
what
that
I'm saying.
would
That's why he's
be, but
No,
Mr.
that's-
Rogers,
No,
tell us.
that's a very good point. The other thing to keep in mind is you will get another bite at the apple, meaning you have to approve the issuance of the bonds. Even though the referendum has, assuming it passes, it comes back to this board to be approved in terms of how we issue it. We may decide to issue it through bank placements. We may decide to issue it as a lease revenue bond, or I'm sorry, as a GO bond, or we could go through VPSA. There's a number of different avenues. But you still have to approve the dollar amount, and you don't have to approve the entire 25. That's your decision. So if they get bids in later that come in at 22 million, you issue 22 and the 3 million goes away. You don't have to issue the full amount.
But I'm going to pay, if I borrow $25 million over 30 years or 20 years, whatever it is, I think it's 30 in this case.
That's also up to you. That's something
Okay.
we can come back to you.
I'm gonna go
that's
as long as
not part
possible.
of the referendum.
But if I take 30 years at 25 million, what am I paying back? 32 million? Probably 33 million.
hang on, I'll tell you. I've got some.
So
If at 30 years, at a 5.5% interest rate, that's about 2.6